Hello, I'm Alfie Sanderson, and today I'm going to be cooking a few of my favourite Christmas canapés for you. To start with, we've got a lovely partridge dish, and the first component of that is using some beautiful British shiitake mushrooms. These are going to get lightly pickled with a load of different aromats, and then balanced out with a little bit of soy sauce to be the first element of our dish. We are going to start by lightly toasting these aromats, release some of those natural oils, get them nice and fragrant. There we go. It's got that on a bit of a medium to high heat. Get some heat through that. And in here we have got mustard seed, coriander seed, star anise, clove, and a little bit of juniper. Lots of Christmassy notes in there to really complement the mushrooms and the partridge. So these are going to go into the pan once that's come up to temperature. Get these toasted off. And when they start becoming nice and fragrant and have a little bit about them, then we can bring them out and add them to the pickling mix. As we're doing so, we can get on with these mushrooms. Keep them nice and chunky. You want a bit of bite into them, and you don't want them disintegrating as soon as they hit that pickling liquor. In the meantime, we'll get the actual pickling liquor all weighed out. So it's going to be slightly sweet, with a touch of acidity in there just to balance the whole dish out. And we want to be using equal parts vinegar, water and sugar, and then balance the whole thing out with a touch of soy to bring a saltiness to the liquor. Shut up. I'm going to bring this to the boil, get this sugar dissolved, and then add those aromats as well. Get in there. A little bit of soy. They're lightly toasted now, so they're going to go into the pickling liquor. So I'm going to touch more white wine vinegar just to balance out the sweetness again. Just because later on, when we have the onion marmalade, that's also going to be quite a sweet element. So we don't want to overpower the whole dish with too much sweetness. Now this has come to the boil. All the sugar's dissolved. It's nicely balanced. We can add this to the mushrooms. Get them soaking in that. We'll soften them up slightly, and then they can absorb all that acidity and balance the dish out nicely. So just leave them uncovered to cool off, and we'll get back to them later. So now we're going to move on to the second component of the dish, which is the Madeira bacon jam marmalade. This is going to add again another depth, a little bit of umami-ness from the black garlic, and then we're going to have some crispy bits in there from the bacon just to balance it out with the salty sweet kind of notes. So I've started off with a few rashers of streaky bacon just because of its higher fat content, and we're just going to get a real nice rough dice on these and then get it crisping in the pan. Start it on a medium to low heat just so we can render out the fat and get them all nice and crispy. You don't want to go straight in with a high heat pan, because it'll just seal the meat straight away. While that's slowly rendering down, we can begin on the onions. just as rough as you like. Try and get them as thin as possible, and as even as possible, just for all the same cooking time, and speed things up a little bit as well. No one wants to be waiting around on the Christmas period. Just like that. While that bacon's doing its thing, we'll move on to some rosemary and thyme. Just want to, doesn't have to be too specific, just a nice rough chop. There's no problems if there's a little bit of stem in there or anything. Just gives a nice little fresh note to the element. Like I said, very rough chop, just releasing some of those flavours. Help it cook down a little bit easier. So now the bacon's done, it's rendered out the majority of its fat. That's all sat in the pan, and we're going to add all the onions to absorb that flavour and cook down with the bacon. And this wants to go along with the herbs, rosemary and thyme. And then we've also got this stuff, black garlic. It holds a very unique flavour known as umami. This can be found in all sorts of foods, tomatoes, mushrooms, and it really adds a nice depth to the dish and helps balance out everything. I've just really roughly chopped it because it's a nice paste. All those onions are getting me. So you want to add a couple of those cloves. This stuff's been cooked at a low temperature for about 3 weeks, so around 60 to 90 degrees for 3 weeks. Really creating a nice depth within the garlic that you'll be able to see in the final dish. So now that everything's in the pan, you want to leave this on sort of a low to medium heat for between 45 minutes and an hour. You'll see it really start to reduce down. It'll go to about half its size as all the water evaporates, and then you'll get a nice caramelization on all the onions for when we add a bit of Madeira and sugar towards the end of the process. So we've come back to these onions that were done a little bit Blue Peter style. These were cooking for sort of an hour-ish, and they virtually came to nothing. I think there's 3 onions in here, and it is, as you can see, it's gone to absolutely nout. So after they'd all cooked down, we then added a good handful of sugar to help with that caramelization a little bit more. And then that was followed by raising the heat up and adding sort of 100 ml of Madeira. Cooked that off at a good temperature until it was nice and glossy. And then we had a little taste and balanced it out with a touch of balsamic just to complement the sugar and bring a little bit of acidity to balance out all the sweetness that's going on, as well as the saltiness in the bacon, to finish the whole element off nicely. And then we're going to monte some butter into this. As you can see, it's quite firm, so I might let it down with a little bit of water in a sec, just to give it a bit more of a jam-like texture. But it's really important to be patient with this and give it the time it needs to sort of cook down and release all those natural sugars, and become really nice and naturally sweet. We're there. We are there. Nicely balanced. It's got sweetness, it's got a little bit of saltiness from the bacon. And it's Got that little kick from the balsamic and the Madeira, with that touch of umami from the black garlic, just bringing everything together really nicely. And that is now ready for the partridge. So now we're on to the main event, the partridge breast. So we are going to begin by debreasting these, and then they're going to be flipped in the pan very quickly. Obviously, only a little bit of meat on there, so we want a very quick sear on them. And then they'll be well rested, and then straight onto the canapé. Partridge in particular, extremely sustainable. Doesn't get used a vast amount, but needs to be, especially in the current climate. This one in particular, shot on the Eastern Estate. Beautiful bird. So we're going to begin by finding that breastbone, running straight down the centre, and then we want to go either left or right of it. So we're going to go straight down here, like so. Find that bone, just there. Just like that. And then we've got our two breasts there. Carcass, we don't want these thrown away. There's still a bit of meat on the legs, and if not, get them roasted off in the oven, make a lovely stock with them. So just going to trim off any excess from these partridges. We've got that wishbone there that we'll just remove like that, and then these will be about ready to go. Completely up to you. You can leave the skins on these or take them off. I'm going to leave them on, add a little bit more texture to the final dish if we get that really nice and crispy. Next process is the seasoning. We're just going to be going straight in with salt, no pepper, because we don't want that burning in the pan, creating a little bitterness. Simply salt, and then we're going to get basting with our aromats, rosemary, thyme, bit of garlic, sticking with the classic autumnal winter flavours. So I want to get this pan on a medium to high heat, just a touch of oil, like so. While that's heating up, we can season these breasts. Like I said, just lightly with salt, both sides. Just like that. They can sit there just for a second, sat in the salt, help tenderise them at a later point. Really helpful to draw out that moisture and tenderise the meat a little bit more. You want a ripping hot pan. Just give that a hold on there. Just to really form that initial crust. Like so. Just while they begin cooking, we're going to peel some garlic to add to the pan in just a moment. Start the basting process. Have a look at these. Again, got a little bit of colour on there, not too much. Going with the aromats now. A little bit of rosemary in there as well, touch of thyme. Move it around. I'm going to get a little bit of browning on the butter, caramelise those milk solids. Makes it a lot easier to baste. That butter nice and foamy. continuously basting those breasts. They're about there, feeling nice and firm. So we're going to get them out, get them resting on a tray, and then we'll come back to them when we start assembling the canapé. So the component that we've got that's going to be bringing this whole dish together is the crispy chicken skin. So these have been stretched out on a baking tray with 2 bits of baking paper, lightly salted, and then sandwiched between another baking tray and cooked for around 25 minutes until nice and golden. They do tend to shrink in size, but these pack a real crunch and add again another bit of texture to the dish. And these are going to be the vessel of the canapé. Alternatively, if you've got enough partridge skin and you want to take that off the bird and spread that onto baking sheets, obviously that's going to work, and then you're utilising the whole bird as well. So we're going to begin with the chicken skin. Snap these quite irregularly, nothing too fancy. So we'll go on to carving these partridge breasts. So you want to take it onto your chopping board. I'm going to go nice thin slices, just like so, and then from that just like that. To assemble, we'll take our bit of chicken skin like so, a little bit of this chutney or marmalade, just like that. We're then going to take a slice of our breast, have that over the top like so, and then a couple of these pickled mushroom bits. Just like that. And then we're going to add a little bit of raw mushroom in there, just to seal the deal. So there we are, the finished product. Our lovely partridge canapé with crispy chicken skin, a bacon Madeira jam, some pickled shiitake mushrooms, and garnished with a little bit of raw chestnut mushrooms. If you're a little bit lost and want the full recipe, head to the Schöffel website and it'll be on there. If not, hope everyone enjoys these on Christmas Day with a nice glass of bubblies. Cheers.